Before I actually get started talking about Starfield, I just wanted to say I am a huge fan of the Elder Scrolls, a fan of Fallout 3, and I've been playing Bethesda games since 2006. So to say I want Starfield to succeed is a understatement, and the point of the video is to talk about what I like, feel lukewarm about, and am worried about with Starfield as a fan of Bethesda games for almost 20 years. Now, the first thing I want to do is talk about what I like about Starfield. The skill system looks really good, and it could make up for Bethesda's lack of combat, because let's be real here, none of the Bethesda games have really had good combat. It's not like Call of Duty or Halo where the gunplay is satisfying. What's usually satisfying about their combat is how broken it is. So when I saw something like jetpacks in Starfield, that was some Boba Fett stuff to me, and I'm just like, heck yeah, I want to be Boba Fett flying around shooting enemies with a jetpack. That sounds dope. The weapon customization, or I think as they called it, like the weapon mod system, also looks really cool, and depending on how they do it, it could really bring diversity to the game. So I am interested to see how that's like too. I mean, the showcase showed some stuff, but I want to see the full game. I need to see it in all its glory for myself and to see how far it can be taken. The character background is a great move and can add character immersion and replayability. Plus, if it's diverse enough, it could make big impacts to every playthrough you choose from the different backgrounds. Also, on a side note, Oblivion was my first game back in 2006, like I said earlier, and I'm very happy to see the adoring fan return, especially with the same voice actor like it sounded like. Another thing that I liked from the showcase is that Bethesda has never really been known for their amazing character models, especially in a game like Oblivion and Morrowind where it just looks really bad. But Starfield's models in the showcase look good. Even though the graphics are not important to me, I do want to compliment them on that because they have gone a long way from Oblivion or Skyrim or even the jerky monsters in Morrowind. Another thing that impressed me from the showcase was the ship customization and the fact that you're going to be able to capture other ships from space pirates, for example. I just think that's cool. You can just board an enemy spaceship and take it. Also, the ship combat looks good, but I do want to see how it feels like for myself when it comes out. And on a side note about the ship stuff, I don't know how deep the Starfield ship/space stuff will be, but if it's deep like the showcase shows and hints, it'll be amazing to be able to have a crew, be a smuggler, and just the variety of ships you could own. And that's just off the showcase. I'm hoping when the base game comes out that we'll get even more than what was shown. Another thing that looked dope from the Starfield showcase was the planet environments and alien creatures. They looked amazing, but that's always been a strong suit of Bethesda. So the fact it is stellar looking from what we've seen, I'm not too surprised about it because it's just their bread and butter. Like, they've always been good at crafting stuff like that. If you want to see an example of them making a really cool, unique alien world, just go play the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. A lot of those designs are really alien, foreign, and they're just good. And the last thing I'm going to be really excited about for Starfield is the modding scene, especially when the game has been out for a while, because you already know these modders are going to make unlimited content for us all to play. And they're the best things about Bethesda games in my opinion. They're going to do some crazy stuff like add TIE fighters to the game and maybe Star Destroyers, or put some Warhammer 40k stuff in there like they did with Fallout. It's just going to be amazing to see what modders can do. And that is just, to me, the best part of any Bethesda game. Now that I kind of talked about things I enjoyed, I now want to talk about things I was kind of lukewarm on, that I kind of want to see more of once the game comes out. But, you know, it could be good or it could be very bad. The first thing on the list from the showcase was that the factions do not really look that interesting. But it's not the biggest deal in Bethesda games, since mods can have great stories, and even the exploration of these games make up for the poor writing Bethesda is known for most of the time. Like, it's not really a secret that Bethesda has never had the best writing. I mean, just look at the Fallout 4 memes of the story. But I always felt that it didn't really matter because the world just made up for it. Like in Skyrim, the factions and the main quest were kind of mediocre, but Skyrim as a world was so interesting that all that stuff was kind of on the back burner. Another thing that I'm kind of lukewarm about, that I'd have to see it executed in the game, is that the fact that the game is going to have 1,000 planets, or over 1,000, and most of it's procedural generation. That does kind of scare me. And the questions I have are going to be like, how long will it take before the planets start to feel the same and not really worth exploring? And how much content is there handcrafted versus procedural generation? Games like Daggerfall suffer from procedural generation in my opinion. I know it has a cult following, but like it would have been better if they just made a smaller land instead of having it the size of Great Britain. Even a legendary studio like From Software couldn't do the procedural generation with their Chalice Dungeons and Bloodborne well, in my opinion. Another thing they showed off in the showcase that I'm kind of lukewarm on is the zero-G combat. It's either going to be really annoying and slow or just meh. I think something they could do to make zero-G more interesting is if there was like equipment to give you an advantage in zero-G. And I know there was something like that with the guns, but I'd like to see more like maybe, I don't know, boots that lock onto the floor or something so everyone else is zero-G and you're not. Or just special equipment. You know, it's up to the game, not me to decide. So we'll see how they handle zero-G. Another thing that is a really lukewarm thing to almost negative thing for me is the fact that the Xbox Series S/X will be running Starfield at 30 frames. It's not a deal breaker, but the year is 2023, and the fact that not even the Series X by itself will be running Starfield at 60 frames per second is kind of ridiculous to me. You know, the world's strongest console can't handle 60 FPS for Starfield. It has to be stuck at 30. And the reason I'm kind of negative on this is because I'm always under the gaming philosophy that performance is more important than graphics, which is why this is disappointing, but still not a deal breaker. Now I want to talk about the things I'm worried about with Starfield. Bethesda is known for their games having a lack of polish. So with how cool and crazy Starfield is looking, I'm wondering how broken the game is going to be at launch. Every Bethesda game has had bugs and a lack of polish from the Elder Scrolls 1 Arena back in like, 1994 to Fallout 76. So I won't be surprised if Starfield follows in that trend, but I do hope it doesn't. Because Xbox really needs a W after Redfall and Halo Infinite. And on a side note of a lack of polish, I do not believe Starfield will be as bad as Fallout 76. Just from the merit that Fallout 76 was a multiplayer online game. And when I heard about this when Fallout 76 was announced, I was very skeptical because it's just like, how is Bethesda going to make a game without the modding community polishing it for them? And on the last worry, and I know the worry list isn't really long, but they're all important, is that Bethesda's marketing with Fallout 76 was really bad and scummy. So it's hard to believe that they will not be malicious and scummy with Starfield. I hope they're not, but if it happened, I would not be surprised, and I would be very disappointed. Because as a business, you should never treat your consumers so poorly. That was just so pathetic from Bethesda back in 2018 when Fallout 76 released. But again, they are owned by Xbox now, so it could be different, but we'll see. Thank you for watching to the end of the video. If you have your own thoughts and opinions on Starfield, let me know in the comments, and...
I'm sorry, sir. It's time for you to leave.